Hello and welcome to the Unit 1 Modified Test recording for U.S. History. Your U.S. History Modified Test will be found in Unit 1. If you actually scroll down once you click on the Unit 1 tab, you will find the Unit 1 test all the way down at the bottom. It will say 1.14 Unit 1 Test MOD for Modified. Okay, that should be the only unit test that you should see in your course once I have it set up that way. Okay, your test will be entered into once you click on Begin 1.14 Unit 1 Test. I will also put a audio recording of the test, which I'm doing right now. I'll put a link right underneath here once this is finished, and I'll put it there for you so you can copy that link and put it in another window. Okay, so you can have the recording going while you take your test, so I can read it to you while you work if you need that. Once you enter into the test, go ahead and click on Begin. This is just a couple of reminders. Make sure that you save your answers using the Save Answers button as you go. When you're finished with the test, please submit for grading. The test is not set to remove you once the clock times down, but I do want to caution you, do not leave your test open for extended periods of time by walking away from it. It may time you out for inactivity. If you walk away for too long, you could take a bathroom break, get a drink or a quick snack for 5 to 10 minutes, but I would not leave it for much longer than that. You should be taking your test in one sitting. If you do not save your answers and then submit for grading at the end, it won't come to me correctly in the grade book. So please make sure that you are saving as you go and then you submit for grading at the end. Okay, your tests are set to only be open once for you. If you do not do well on your test and you need to take it over again, one of the things that you'll be able to do is go to Course Home, and you see this section right underneath your course announcements called the Retake Request Form. Should you need to improve on the test, you could take this form and indicate to me that you would like to meet with me during office hours to review for your test. You will need to make sure that you are going to review on your own the missed questions that you have. You can view missed questions for your test by clicking on your test in the gradebook. Okay, your gradebook will show you the score for your test, and once you see your score, you can click on that and see the ones that you got wrong on the bottom of that scoring window. But this is how you can request a retake should you need to get back into your test. Okay, so let's go back into the test and get you started. Again, enter the test by saying Begin, read the reminders, and we will start your test. Your modified test has 19 questions with 3 answer options each. I'm going to be reading you the question and the answer options to help you along. What did Captain John Smith require of the colonists at Jamestown? They worship regularly, they work in order to eat, or they adopt Native American methods of cultivation. If I'm going too fast during the recording, remember that you can pause the recording, rewind, or fast forward as needed. Number 2, what was the main reason that Jamestown was founded? To gain wealth, to gain land for agriculture, or as a base of access to the Chesapeake Bay? Number 3, how did the Mayflower Compact affect the settlement of Plymouth Colony? It served as a basis for passing laws for the good of the colony. It spelled out the religious beliefs of the colonists, or it became the basis for trade agreements with Holland. Number 4, thousands of English Puritans arrived in Massachusetts Bay as they fled persecution in England. Which term is associated with this event? The Age of Voyaging, the Great Migration, or the Debtors' Migration? Number 5, what was the major difference between the Massachusetts Bay Colony and Rhode Island? Roger Williams, founder of Rhode Island, believed in religious toleration. Squanto provided Massachusetts Bay with corn, but refused to do so in Rhode Island. Or there was virtually no difference between the two colonies since both were founded by Puritans. Which colony was founded by Catholic proprietors on land given to Cecilius Calvert in recognition of Catholic support for King Charles I? Was that New Jersey, North Carolina, or Maryland? Number 7, how did the colony of New Amsterdam become New York? The Dutch sold it to the Duke of York because they were losing money there. The Amsterdam family decided to return to Holland, so they sold the land to the highest bidder. When the English captured the territory from the Dutch, the king gave it to his brother, the Duke of York. Number 8, which colony was founded as a haven for a religious group known as the Quakers? Was that Pennsylvania, New Jersey, or Vermont? Number 9, what was the Middle Passage? The transition from Africa to British slave traders who then transported the slaves to America. The second leg of a triangular trip from Africa, known for its inhumane conditions, or the period when the slave trade was at its height, operating in the very worst conditions. Number 10, why did slavery replace indentured servitude in the colonies as time went on? Indentured servants left plantations at the end of their service or servitude. Slaves were more intelligent and could be easily trained to undertake plantation jobs, or it cost the planters almost nothing to use the slaves. What did John Locke believe? The survival of the fittest would lead to government by the most able. Natural law required governments to protect citizens' rights to life, liberty, and property. Or government was not necessary as long as people functioned reasonably. Number 12, what was a key belief in the Great Awakening? Salvation did not depend on membership in a single church. Government was more important than religion in people's lives, or generosity was the key to salvation. Number 13, how did the French and Indian War affect the British and ultimately the colonies? They formed an alliance with the French, they increased Native American support, or they gained land but incurred heavy debt. At this point in the test, if you've reached number 13 and you have not yet saved your responses, please do so. Scroll back to the top of your test or scroll down to the bottom and use that Save Answer button. Do not click on Submit yet until you're finished with your test. Number 14, what was the major occupation in the Middle Colonies? Manufacturing, farming, or growing cotton? Number 15, what was not a major cash crop in the South? Tomatoes, rice, or corn? Number 16, what best describes the relationship between geography and economics in the 13 British colonies? All of the colonies benefited from good soil and a long growing season. The diverse geography of the colonies encouraged different economic pursuits, or the geography of the colonies had little influence on the economies that developed. 17, on what characteristics is the division of the 13 colonies in New England, middle and southern regions based? Was it based on geography and economics, religion and philosophy, or government and politics? Number 18, which statement best describes the relationship between colonists and Native Americans during the 17th and 18th century? Native Americans were hostile to British colonists from the start. The two groups sometimes cooperated, but the colonists' desire for more land led to conflict. The colonists arrived in the Americas determined to exterminate the native population. Number 19, and your last question for the Unit 1 test, which was not a reason for founding or settling any of the 13 colonies? Plans to establish a democratic republic without a king, desire to practice an unpopular religion without persecution, or hope for a better life than might be expected in Europe? At this point, you want to save your answers. Before you submit for grading, you might have some questions that you weren't entirely sure of. My recommendation when taking a test is to always go through and take and answer the questions that you are more certain of. Then you should go back and reread questions that you weren't sure of. And make sure that any word that you see that you don't know the definition of, that you are looking that up by using your book. You can use the index in the back of the book to identify page numbers where you can find that information in the textbook. You can also use the glossary, which has a lot of vocabulary words that you will find in your book that will give you definitions as well. Headings within the chapters in the unit are also very helpful because those identify what information is in each section of the book. So please make sure once you have attempted all the questions that you're pretty sure of, that you are then using your textbook, the index, the glossary, and even using your reading guides, which are very helpful summaries of key information to go back and see if you can identify what the answer is to these questions. The reading guides are designed not only to help you with checkpoints and quizzes, but to help you with the test. And frequently, the questions that you see on reading guides are what you end up seeing for content on your tests, quizzes, and checkpoints. So they are crucial for the class. Reading guides are not graded, but they are an extra credit opportunity. So if you're going to go through the test and redo it, or you want some further review, make sure that you go to the extra credit portion of the unit. You'll see here that for Unit 1, extra credit is worth 8 points. You can watch this video here by clicking on this video, and it will walk you through how to submit your 2 reading guides for extra credit. Okay, if you submit 2 lesson reading guides, you'll get extra credit for Unit 1. This is something that you should really be doing from the start, and getting your reading guides is pretty easy. If you click on Unit Resources, you will find the screen that pops up will show you a section called Materials. If you click on Materials, a new screen will pop up, and this will allow you to search by lesson and find any reading guide that is available to you. Mine looks a little bit different because I have the answer keys there, but the reading guides will be available to you by lesson. At the start of each unit, you can download each reading guide and have them ready for you to print off if you would like to write on them. If you can't type on them, you may need to print them off and write on them. If you are able to type on them, you can just do it on the computer if you wish and save that file. Okay, so that's one location to get a reading guide. The other location to get a reading guide would be in the lesson itself. For example, 106, Worlds Meet. If you advance through the course slides, you will actually see it usually on the 3rd slide where it says Materials. Okay, so it says Reading Guide Materials. You can get your reading guide there. For a study guide, for a test study guide, you want to go into doc sharing and go under the Unit 1 folder for doc sharing. The Unit 1 documents folder. Once you have completed your test, again, there is the recording that I will post on the main page of the test. Also, there will be the review session recording that I will post on this main page as well for you. So your recordings and your unit review recordings will be here. Unit review recordings are also in Class Connect. So there's lots of ways to find the information that you need. I make sure that it's in several places so you guys can access it a little bit more easily, depending on where you are in the course. Good luck on your unit test. If you have any questions at all, please be sure to contact me.